FortiWeb is Fortinet WAF Web Application Firewall. It is very similar to F5 Big IP ASM, Application Security Manager or Advanced WAF, right? And as we all know, Fortinet is name of company, name of vendor, and Fortinet has very big portfolio. There are too many products of Fortinet. FortiWeb is like one of them, and FortiWeb is WAF. FortiGate is next generation firewall. FortiSIM, FortiSOAR, FortiManager, FortiAnalyzer, FortiNAC, even Fortinet ADC, Application Delivery Controller, which is basically a load balancer, very similar to LTM of F5 Big IP, Local Traffic Manager, right? So ADC is basically Application Delivery Controller. But basic load balancing features and options are available in FortiWeb also. So if we do not want advanced load balancing options, so no need to buy a separate appliance for application delivery controller, right? Basic load balancing functionality like the health monitoring, persistence, load balancing like round robin and some other methods that is supported in FortiWeb also, right? And I'm sure like you understand the use case, why do we need to deploy FortiWeb even if like we have next generation firewalls in our network, because next generation firewalls means like network firewalls, even they do operate up to layer 7 of OSI model. They do perform deep packet inspection with the help of security profiles. Even we can protect our infrastructure resources, web applications also from SQL code injection attack, cross-site scripting attack. But still we need like a dedicated WAF solution in the network, because WAF means like purposefully built to protect web applications. I'm not going to talk much about like the differences between next generation firewalls and FortiWeb, because I have talked like so many times differences between both. So in this section straight away I'm going to show you how we can configure FortiWeb, right, for traffic flow, right? So if here like there is FortiWeb that is WAF and backend server, right? So minimum configuration that would be required to allow HTTP request to hit backend server, right? So how we can configure like WAF in fact or FortiWeb to facilitate traffic flow through the web application firewall. Because once we understand that, then easily we can, with the help of like some web protection profile and policy, we can protect web application, right? I will show you that also, but not in the like in fact in this section, maybe in the next section I will show you that also, protection part, right? Protecting web application and resources. So configuring traffic flow to the web servers through FortiWeb. So before we begin to apply protection, we must first verify that HTTP traffic can pass through the FortiWeb. To do this, configure and then connect to the virtual server IP address. Then a web page opens that is hosted on one of the backend protected servers, which verifies the routing, virtual server, policy configuration, right? So the first objective is to configure FortiWeb so that HTTP requests will start flowing through the web server, right? So how we can do that configuration? So first step here is creating virtual IP. So first is like virtual IP, then virtual server. Virtual IP is assigned to virtual server, and then creating pool or server pool, and finally like a policy, in fact server policy, right? So first step, virtual IP, WIP. And if you are familiar with F5 big IP products, ASM or LTM, so I'm sure you know like what is WIP or virtual IP address. So basically F5 devices are Fortinet ADC or Fortinet WAF, that is FortiWeb. They basically pretend outside user, external user, as if the device itself is a server, right? So basically what we do, we create a virtual server. It's a kind of emulation, right? Because backend servers are very well protected. Even their IPs, names are never disclosed, revealed to anyone, right? So load balancer or WAF like FortiWeb advertises a virtual IP, fictitious IP, even though like that IP is routable, of course, but IP is not basically assigned to the backend server. IP is assigned to a virtual server, right? Virtual server. So virtual server is basically advertised to outside world with the virtual IP, and FortiWeb or ADC, of course, knows about backend server real IPs, right? So first step here is creating virtual IP, step number 1, right? So very simple. Practically I'm going to show you from where we can do all the configuration. So first step, navigate to network, virtual IP, and create a virtual IP and bind with the external interface that connects outside world or internet, right? And then step number 2. Step number 2 is creating a virtual server. So it's very straightforward. Virtual server means just a name and just bind virtual IP with it. So virtual IP address is binded with the virtual server, right here. So it's very simple. Under server object, we find the option virtual server and then create virtual server, give any name and bind virtual IP. Step number 2 done, right? So health check is required only if like there is more than one server, because if there is only one server, FortiWeb, so if there is only one server, so you understand like there is no point of configuring health check monitor or configuring load balancing method, and even the option will not be highlighted, right? So health check option, yes, would be available only if like there is more than one server, 2 server, 3 server in a pool, right? So if there is more than one server, then yes, we can configure health check monitor or health check. Also we can configure load balancing method here, right? But in case if there is only one server, then yes, we can skip this step, health check. So health check is optional, of course, and can be configured only if there is more than one server here, right? And then so virtual IP, virtual server, health check is, as I said before, optional. And why optional? Because health check is meaningful only if there is more than one server. And then pool. Pool is what? Logical grouping of backend servers. So even if there is only one server, then still pool has to be created, right? So pool can have only one member. And then finally, once like pool is created here this way, and you can see if you look at the option, so if there is single server, then you will not find server health check option and load balancing algorithm here on this page. So both options, server health check and load balancing algorithm, would be available only if server balance option is selected, means there is more than one server. Only one server, single server, of course both options would become meaningless. So rule is, and the last option, finally, creating FortiWeb server policies. So here like we can give policy name, deployment mode, virtual server, server pool, HTTP service, web protection profile, right? Plays an important role in protecting web applications. I will show you. And enable traffic log, if like if not visible, then enable it from the CLI version, because in previous versions, maybe 7.0 or 7.1, traffic log cannot be enabled from graphical user interface mode. So for that we will enable that from CLI. I'm going to show you like all the steps step by step, right? So on this page we do all the configuration. Web protection profile, inline alert only, means only logging option, no protection as such. Alright, so look at this topology. Then here like there is FortiWeb right? Backend server, web server basically, and the application is hosted here. So we are not going to do any configuration on backend server, and there is one PC, management plus attacker PC, connected to port 2, right? So the same like computer will be used for management operation and also for attack purpose. Okay, but this FortiWeb has no configuration, not configured yet. So we are going to see step by step. So first I will assign IP address to port 2 interface so that we can access GUI page of FortiWeb from here. So it's basically FortiWeb. So username admin, no password, no password. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to assign IP address to external port 2, because port 2 is also the management interface here in this lab topology, right? So set mode static, set IP 192.168.0.1/24, set allow access ping HTTPS HTTP SSH, right, and end command. So IP address is successfully assigned, right, to port 2 interface, and you can see port 2 interface is external interface, and the same like port is also used for the management operation. So now I'm going to access web UI page of FortiWeb from here using this IP 192.168.0.1 HTTPS, right? HTTPS is supported even in a trial version or demo version of FortiWeb. However, in FortiGate firewall, without proper license, HTTPS access is not allowed, right? So we access with HTTP, but in FortiWeb, yes, HTTPS is allowed. So straight away I'm going to access management plus attacker PC, and will open GUI page of FortiWeb to do further configuration like port 1 interface IP address, and also configuring FortiWeb so that we can access web application hosted here on the backend server from this machine, but not with the same IP address, right? Maybe with any virtual IP address from the same range, For example, if virtual IP address is 100, so what I will do, I will map virtual IP address that is 192.168.0.100 to the virtual server. So virtual IP address is assigned to the virtual server, and virtual server has a pool associated, and pool has member, and member is what? 10.1.1.2. There is one pool member. Of course, like there can be multiple servers here, right? And in case if like there are multiple servers and you want a dedicated load balancer, local traffic management operation, I mean like ADC, then yes, you can have a dedicated ADC also. But if you want basic functionality of load balancer or local traffic management, then no need to have a dedicated appliance for that. We can do like configuration here on FortiWeb also, and same goes with F5 products also. Like in F5 big IP, some basic LTM functionalities, features are there, right? And same here. And in case if both devices are separately required, then generally what we do, we put like FortiWeb first, and then here like a load balancer and 3 servers, right? What's the reason why do we do so? I'll explain later on, right? Because if something has to do with the IP, in case of source network or source NAT is in place, then we use X forwarded for option XFF. So that's something different to discuss on. I don't want to get into those stuff here. Alright, so I hope you understand like the objective. So objective is to configure FortiWeb so that we can access backend server with virtual IP address 0.100, right? Not the real IP address. And then in next section, what we will do, then we will launch attack to the backend server, and then with the help of web protection profile, we'll try to protect attacks of like on backend server, like code injection or command injection or any other attack. Like with the help of profile, we will do protection even HTTP methods. We can control IP reputation, geolocation, like very similar configuration as we do in a 5 big IP ASM. Of course, I'm not doing side-by-side comparison between both the appliances because they both are completely different from each other. F5 big IP ASM is like a F5 product, whereas FortiWeb is Fortinet. So of course, like all features and functionalities are not same, but basic concept you understand, like that remains always same, no matter like whether it's Fortinet or F5 or any other vendor product, right? Same type of configuration. Alright, so I'm going to open console of first, like attacker PC 192.168.0.2 will access FortiWeb with port 2 interface IP. So ignore the certificate warning. It's a device certificate warning message. You understand that. Username admin. Right. The very first time, like we are going to configure FortiWeb. So interface is very similar to Fortinet other appliances like Fortinet or any other device. So first I'm going to configure port 1 interface, LAN interface, not configured yet, right? So what IP 10.1.1.1, right? So manual, okay, 10.1.1.1/24. IPv4 access option, if you want, then you can specify description over here. Done. In production network, if like you want to configure routing, so very limited option here because it's not a firewall, it's not a FortiGate WAF. So here in FortiWeb, either we can do static routing or policy based routing, right? So we can put here like gateway address and interface, or if you are interested in doing policy based routing, that is also possible. We can do policy based routing. Advanced routing is not supported here in FortiWeb because it's not a firewall, like network firewall. I mean, it's a web application firewall, not a network firewall, and that is the reason like you don't find here more option. So IP is configured, right? Under system, if we want to configure here anything related with operation, feature visibility, right? So yes, we can do like configuration here also. I hope you understand, self-explanatory. So straightaway let me jump to the like FortiWeb configuration. So IP is configured. I'm not going to do any configuration under system option, but I'm sure like you understand, like administrator certificate related with maintenance here, configuration related option, replacement message is configured here, right? So very similar to FortiGate, right? So objective here is to configure FortiGate so that from here we can access backend server, but not with its real IP, with a virtual IP. So virtual IP, I'm going to assign here .100, any IP address from the same network range, right? Because 192.168.0 is the directly connected network segment. So that's the reason we can take any IP address from there. So navigate to network, and here like second option is virtual IP address, create new, and here I can give any name, but name should be meaningful, so better like I also mention IP address format name, but actual IP address is here. And even in case if there is only one IP address, means /32, so if we do not specify subnet mask, then subnet mask is automatically taken in fact /32, and interface external, that is port 2. So even in case if no subnet mask, means /32, right? Good so far, virtual IP address. And then what about the next step? IP is configured under this network, and then the next one is virtual server. So first virtual IP, then virtual server object. So virtual server 01, you can give any name, of course. Hit down OK, and then click here, create new. Select virtual IP address. We have just created. Okay, so virtual IP is now binded with the virtual server. Hit down OK one more time. So 2 steps done. First step, virtual IP, and then virtual server. Next, server pool. So create new, give it any name. So web server pool 1, you can give any name here. HTTP type, you understand, like reverse proxy. What is reverse proxy? I'm sure you understand, like traffic sense coming from internet side and request terminated completely to the device, then another new connection is established with the backend server. There are different mode here, not only the reverse proxy, and that can be changed from here, right? So, and the next selection here, about single server or server balance. So if single server is selected, then we don't see much option here. But what if I change it to server balance? Then server health check and load balancing will get done, right? And weighted round robin list connection, host hashing, source IP hash, right? So in case if there are like there is more than one server, multiple servers, backend servers, also we want to do load balancing, health check monitor, of course, right? Yes, we can do that. But in this environment, there is only one server, so I will select single server. Hit down OK. But what is server IP address? So if you look at the diagram, server IP address is 10.1.1.2. So click create new, right? And you understand pool is like logical grouping of servers or members. So IP address 10.1.1.2. Hit down OK. Alright. And one more time OK. So all 3 steps done. Virtual IP, virtual server, and server pool is created, right? What about policy, in fact, right? Is there any policy here created? No. So next step is creating policy. From here, server policy. So create server policy. It is like web policy, basically web application firewall policy, right? And just below server policy, you can see here web protection profile is there, right? We'll talk about web protection profile later on. So this is maybe we can give it name web policy 1, any name. Deployment mode, single server or server balance, yes. What about virtual server? Virtual server already created. And even in case if objects are not created upfront, then you can see here there is option to create new object, right? I followed a step-by-step process. First virtual IP, virtual server, pool, and then policy, right? But even if like objects are not created upfront, we can create objects on this page also. Server pool already created, and mandatory configuration only. HTTP service, yes, HTTP. Accept all default values over here. What about the web protection profile? Right, by default in FortiWeb there are 8 to 10 default profiles means created by default. Read only mode, of course. If we want further customization, then we can create our own protection profile either from scratch, or maybe we can make a copy of it, a replica, cloning, and then we can customize it further. However, like just for the testing purpose, I'm going to select inline alert only. Just we want to see the alert or log message, a replacement message, yes, predefined, right? That's it. Okay. And what is inside this protection profile? Inline alert only. So if we go to this web protection profile, then we can see like how many protection profiles are by default created, what are all options, right? For now, like I'm good with it, this inline alert only. Hit down OK. All 4 steps done. Virtual IP, virtual server, pool, and server policy. What is virtual IP? 192.168.0.100. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to access a backend server with this IP address 192.168.100/dvwa, damn vulnerable web application, right? I'm sorry, it's a 0.100 and username admin, password default is password. Alright, so yes, successfully accessed here. Okay, so can we see any log? If we go to logs and report section and log access, and here like there is one option, traffic and also attack. So of course there is no attack as such, but what about the traffic option? We don't see any traffic log here. And why it is so? Because traffic log is by default disabled, right? But we didn't see or find any option here on this page, right? Because FortiWeb version is 7.0. So in this FortiOS version, we cannot enable traffic log on this page, like from the server policy. I mean, like from graphical user interface mode. On this page, I don't see any option here, right? So how we can do this? Like, so we can get into CLI mode of it. From CLI, yes, we can do config log and traffic log, right? Set status enable, set status enable, and then end, right? So config log, traffic log, set status enable, it is enabled now. And again, if I go to the same page, server policy, just to see, do we have any option like now to enable or disable traffic log on this page? And here we have log traffic, enable log traffic, enable, head down, okay, and again if we access server with the IP 192.168.0.100/dvwa, username, root, and password, not root, I'm sorry, admin, and password is password. So yes, access now. Can we check the log now? Traffic log, and here we see the traffic log here, right? Get method, web policy, web server pool, right? And IP is translated to 10.1.2. So basically we access 192.168.0.100 but translated to 10.1.1.2. So it is translated, right? And what if we try to launch any attack from here? Like if we go to security page and low submit, and you can see here like I tried to perform SQL code injection attack, and I can see now username and the password, right? So this attack, in fact, no protection as such. And why there is no protection? And you can see here SQL code injection attack detected but not protected yet. And why it is so? Because the profile that we have used here, like web protection profile in this server, not server, in policy, in fact, here web protection profile. So we use like this inline alert only, right? So as so there is no protection, and that is why we could see like traffic log, attack logs, but as so there is no protection, and it's a read only mode, so we cannot modify, we cannot change, right? So in order to protect attacks in order to protect backend server, protection profiles should not be in alert only mode, right? We'll see like in the next session. So I hope you understand like how we can do basic configuration of FortiWeb.